It's a mailbag Monday. Al Horford to the Knicks, plus keeping homegrown players and trying to find ways around the collective bargaining agreement. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis. Recap the madness every game, every practice. Prime time, dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. And I got you every Monday through Friday with a free podcast that drops directly to whatever podcasting app you are using. So thank you for subscribing. Watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section, share your thoughts. What do you think of my answers in this mailbag episode? JohnKaralis.com/mailbag to ask your questions. JohnKaralis.com/mailbag. Today's show brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I am John Karalis. By the way, I've been covering the Celtics for about 20 years now, doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a couple books about the Celtics as well, so I've got my finger on the pulse of this team, which is why people like to ask me questions and why I really love to answer them. So let's dive in. Later on, we'll get to some fun questions by asking people bilingual questions, jumping off of my desire to get exclusive quotes from Giannis Antetokounmpo by asking him questions in Greek. We'll get into a bunch of questions about Jrue Holiday, trading Jaylen Brown, all of that stuff. But let's start with Carlos B., who says, what do you think of Al Horford being mentioned as a possibility with the Knicks? This comes from the Hoop Collective podcast and Tim Bontemps, who wasn't reporting but suggested Al Horford. This is a quote: Al Horford is a free agent. I don't think at this point it makes a lot of sense for Horford to be back in Boston. Maybe he will be, but given where things are with the Celtics, I think he's now much more in play than he might have been a month ago. He goes on to mention that Horford's a longtime friend of Karl Anthony Towns, played with him on the Dominican national team. And so it makes sense for the Knicks to pursue Al Horford, to give him a little, give Karl Anthony Towns a little mentor, a little, somebody he can trust on the team to maybe push him a little bit. It makes sense for the Knicks to try. I don't know. I really don't know where Al's head is when it comes to this stuff. I'll put it this way. If Al had not won a championship last season, then I would have put a ton of stock into this, because I thought one thing that Al Horford was missing on his resume was an NBA championship. And now that he has that, I think he's probably already a Hall of Famer before, but you have 2 college championships. You now have an NBA championship. You have a very long, distinguished career. The numbers are really good. The aggregate numbers are really good. He is probably a Hall of Famer now. I would say it's a pretty solid case that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And I don't know that he's looking to relocate. But again, I don't know. I'm not in Al Horford's head. I don't have any inside information on what Al is thinking. I think he's a pretty private guy, and what his thoughts are on this are not going to be made known for a little while. My guess is it's either come back to Boston and try one more time or retire. I don't know that he wants to keep chasing. He left before and it didn't work out great in New York. I mean, in Philly. I don't know how well it will work in New York. He's a great fit theoretically, but is Tom Thibodeau the guy you want managing Al Horford's minutes? If you're Al, are you going to trust Thibodeau to play you a certain amount of minutes? And okay, fine. Maybe they will be amenable to You get 22 minutes a night, and that's it. But is he really in practice going to be okay with a 22-minute a night guy? I don't know. And it's again not out of the question. I think Horford, the jump from Boston before, it not going well, bouncing around. I think he trusts what the situation is in Boston. And I think maybe his biggest question is Jayson Tatum coming back? Is there a possibility of him coming back next season at some point? Do the Celtics have a legitimate chance to contend in some form next season, 25-26? And if they do, then stick around, bide your time, and make one more run with the Celtics. And then after that, you can retire feeling happy and comfortable that you've done everything. So I'm not going to rule out Al Horford leaving. I just don't know, given his history, how much he wanted to come back to Boston, how much he likes it in Boston. I don't think that he's eager to go. So I'll leave it there. I would be mildly surprised to see Horford sign with any other team. I would expect him to probably try to stick around and maybe just take a veteran minimum contract to do so in Boston. Let's rinse our palate here, cleanse our palate of the thought of Al Horford in a Knicks uniform. With Reginald, who says, quick mention, it's funny how the Knicks lost the exact way the Celtics lost. 2 home games, and then one games 3 and 5, and over in 6. And 6 wasn't exactly all that close. So good point, Reginald. Let's all point and laugh at the Knicks and be like, you don't like it when it happens to you, do you? Losing 2 games at home, blowing a lead, all of that stuff, everything that happened to the Celtics, it happened to the Knicks. In fact, everything that happened to the Celtics this season, this postseason, happened to another team at some point. And I think it just lets you know that the Celtics, they're less special maybe than we thought. They won their championship, but winning that championship didn't change a lot. Defending the championship was difficult. And the fact that these other teams had stuff happen to them, the same thing, just it goes to show how good other teams are, how easy it is with the 3-pointer to blow a lead, and just it's not just the Celtics that it happens to. This is not unique to them. So, I think it should take some of the sting off. Like this is just what the NBA is. Very few teams have that, like, impervious to all of that stuff. It doesn't exist. Let's wrap up this segment with Angelo, who said, I want to ask if trading JB this offseason makes more sense than next offseason. Does it make sense to accelerate getting under the apron since Tatum will be out a majority of the season? Like there are a couple of thoughts. I've mentioned this before, but let's get it back out there. Jaylen, I don't think he's back for more than one season. I think at some point he's going to get moved, which makes, first of all, his run through Boston community events that we've seen lately. He's been at schools. He's been, he's making it a concerted effort to be more in the Boston community. And that puts a lot of pressure on the Celtics. And I think there's a twofold thing with Jaylen. Like, he wants to be in the community. He wants to help. He wants to make a difference in kids' lives. And if it happens to put pressure on the Celtics to keep him, then so be it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, yeah, what a shame it would be if all of these kids got upset that I would be moved. But regardless, I think just financially, This is where they are. They can't. I don't think they can keep two supermax guys at this stage of their careers making the money that they make. So if Tatum is absolutely no way coming back this upcoming season and they want to rip the Band-Aid off, I can see rationale for that. If they feel like they can contend without Tatum or contend long enough where Tatum could come back and be ready to go and play NBA basketball at some point during the season, then you keep them and you make your one more run and you make the most painful moves next summer. I think the Celtics are going to try. They will exhaust all avenues. The Celtics will exhaust all avenues of contention before they make the big move, the Jaylen Brown, the Derek White, the core guys that you need to contend. They won't be moved until the Celtics are absolutely 100% sure that there's no path to contention this upcoming season. So whatever that is in their heads, and it likely would include Jayson Tatum coming back and playing NBA basketball at some point in the 25-26 season, if they feel like that's possible, then you keep White, you keep Jaylen, and you try your best. If they don't think it's possible and they think, okay, we've got these deals, that's the other part of it. You have to have the right deals in place. You can't just be like, well, that's it. Jaylen's gone. Derek White's gone. You got to get the right guys back too, because just trading those guys to trade them and your picks might be good, but you still have to get role players and you have to build a team. You are team building. So I feel like Jaylen's going to be here for one more season. Okay. That's one more season. And then we go from there. When we come back, we get into Jayson Tatum's playmaking and how that impacts his recovery and a bunch of Jrue Holiday trade stuff. That's all next. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. We have all looked at our bank account and said, that is less than I expected. I don't recall where this money is going. You need to track your money. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It is a personal CFO in your pocket on your phone that gives you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just some budgeting app. There are a million of those. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center so you can track all your accounts, investments, spending in one place. So stop managing your money, start building wealth. If you're going out, buying a new car, like I just did, I am now looking to make sure that the new car payment fits into my budget. So this can help me track my budget, save more, checks my finances, tracks my spending, plan long-term goals. My wife and I can be together on the same app. It tracks shared and personal accounts. So you can set goals and stay on the same page, takes the stress out of the whole process. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Game Night. The NBA Finals are set. OKC and Indiana. Who saw that coming? But we got it all covered on Locked On NBA and Locked On NBA Game Night. 2 podcasts covering the finals. I'm lucky enough to have the Friday show, which means I'm covering the Thursday night Game 1. So make sure you're subscribed to Locked On NBA Game Night. I will be breaking down Game 1 of the NBA Finals on Friday with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. So come join me there. Let's get back to the mailbag. Again, questions can be submitted at johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Zach from the UK asks, do you believe JT's playmaking leap will benefit him after the injury, as it's another aspect of his game that needs to be respected, even if he doesn't quite have the same burst? I want to take that last bit first here and say, Tatum isn't a big burst guy. He's not just blowing by people off the dribble. He's doing a lot of pick and roll and reads and all of that stuff. He's not just going to bust by guys. So I don't know. I really don't know what his burst is going to be when he comes back. Is it going to be impacted? Is he going to be slower or not? I don't know. So, but I think Jayson's game on its own isn't a super crazy athletic game. It's more picks, a little craftiness, making the right read. And so, yeah, his playmaking does have to be respected, and it will help him in the, in the sense that if he has shooting around him, however the Celtics retool, he's still going to have an opportunity to get by guys. And the threat of him passing and hitting those shooters will give him the extra space that he needs to keep doing what he's doing. So, yes, I think his playmaking can be a big part of being his normal self after the recovery. So I think that's a good point, Zach. But I also I really need to see. Maybe I'm too pie in the sky. I feel like he can make a full recovery. I just keep going back to he's 27. He got the surgery right away. He got it from one of the best. It's an innovative procedure that historically has gotten guys back a little quicker than normal. Not historically, it's not done very often. I just feel like we might be pleasantly surprised with how this recovery goes. So just putting that out there. Dustin says, I think the biggest problem with the current NBA collective bargaining agreement is the inability to keep homegrown players. I don't have much sympathy for teams assembled via trades, but a simple fix to the CBA to allow teams to re-sign players with less of a cap hit if they originally drafted them or they were first contract in the league, like Sam Hauser. So this is a popular thought. Dustin is one of many people who have suggested that homegrown players be counted differently, whether it's 75% or, the 30% of the cap versus the 35%, like the supermax part it doesn't count. So you cover 30% and the extra 5% is just the way the team is allowed to keep its players. I am not going to rule something like that out in the future. It may be a way for the league to counter what the impact of this CBA is. For now, I want everybody to understand the dispersal of talent, homegrown or not, is intended by this collective bargaining agreement. This is not a problem for the NBA. They want Jaylen Brown to be traded. They want Jaylen Brown to go to Utah, let's say. They want him to go to a team that is rebuilding, has cap space, has the ability to make a move for him. It's just that's what the CBA is trying to do. If by doing that, the league has pissed off fans and they start rebelling somehow and teams start to suffer, then there may be a pushback, in which case this would be a possibility. Homegrown, hey, look, we've drafted these guys. Why can't we keep them? But there's always going to be an exception that you're like, oh, man, I can't believe that they have to make this move. I go to OKC, for example, or Indiana, the two finals participants. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was not drafted by OKC. They got him in a trade with the Clippers. After his rookie season, he had a good rookie season, and they made that trade, and the Thunder developed him, but he was acquired via trade, and he's their MVP. And they're going to pay him in every same way that you pay a homegrown player. So what's the difference? Okay. Is it guys that you have drafted? Is it guys that you signed their first contract? Or can there be an exception for guys who you've traded for in their rookie contracts? And all of a sudden they've taken off because they're in a situation or whatever. The team, like it's the same exact thing. OKC put in the time and effort to develop Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton. It took a little longer, but kind of the same idea. But anyway, this is a potential fix if a problem shows up. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll get back to Jrue Holiday. Jrue, how do they trade him tactfully? Are there ways around the collective bargaining agreement to figure out a way out? And we'll talk all about that next. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Big Board next if you want to get it caught up on the draft and prospects. Rafael Barlow has you covered on NBA Big Board, Locked On NBA Big Board. It's a great podcast. It really can help you kind of get prepared for this. It should be, if you're interested in the draft, it should be part of your draft prep. Let's wrap up the podcast here with a series of Jrue Holiday questions. Starting with JC, who asks, I feel like the departure of Jrue is looming on the horizon, regardless. Knowing how poorly he felt about the transaction to get him here and how Milwaukee handled him, how does the front office go about moving a player in a more tactful way? We all love Jrue Holiday. I think Jrue Holiday is an exceptional person. I think he and his wife do incredible work. His kids are adorable. His young son, I forget his son's name, dribbling a basketball around and shooting a basketball into the towel bin. Hilarious to me. I think he's just the Jrue Holiday experience from top to bottom has been top notch. And no one wants him to go away. No one wants him to be traded. That said, this is how it goes. And so the most tactful way to handle something like this is to bring him into the office and say, listen, Jrue, we love you, but the business side of this collective bargaining agreement is tearing us apart. And unfortunately, we will be exploring trades for you in order to help us get underneath this second apron. And just understand that it's not something that we want to do. We want to keep you around here for as long as possible, but this is the situation. We kind of have no choice. I have to explore ways to move you. That said, I want to involve you in the process. We need to keep it quiet, but I want you to be involved, and I will run what I can by you. And hopefully we can find you a situation that you're okay with. And that's all you can do. You just be honest. I think players understand. It's certainly Holiday. I mean, he's been involved in this process. He's been involved in the players union. These guys understand the whole thing. They get it. I'm sure people in their spheres listen to people like me talk and write and all of that. So they read and listen and all of that to a lot of us. And it's no question. Jrue Holiday being traded is like the number one topic this summer. So you just deal with it. You say, okay, this is the life that I signed up for. I'm going to make $30 million next year, and we have to be prepared for whatever. And then hopefully, like I've mentioned before, a team like the Clippers says, we want to do a deal with you. The Celtics find that deal a good one, and you say, hey, buddy, we can send you home to LA, and that can be, that's the best we can do. We're keeping you in mind. And hopefully that'll work. Now, I'm going to bring Dave's question into this because this is the opposite of that in a way. He says, my one idea is for the Celtics to trade during this cap year before July 1st for a player on a higher 2025 cap number and a lower extension that kicks in. An example is Jrue Holiday for Jonathan Isaac, who currently makes $25 million, but is dropping to $16 million next season. That would work. He is, I think there might be a restriction, but he said this works. This works in the trade machine. I think the way his deal is structured, it is allowed, and that is a good way to do it. But trading a guy in the first year of his contract or the last year of his contract before an extension, there was a poison pill that requires like an aggregate number to be used. And that was for opposite reasons, because numbers go up, and they didn't want people trading for the $5 million guy who's going to make $30 million. And you're like, oh, we only had to match $5 million. So this might actually help the Celtics out in a bigger way by dropping what his number is in a trade. But as far as the cap hit goes, yeah, this is a good way to look at it. These types of creative things from Dave is kind of what the Celtics are looking to do. They're looking to find creative ways to drop the number. Now, my way is to trade for a guy who's entering the final year of his deal and prioritize those so the next season is zero. But if you want a guy, if you think Jonathan Isaac is a guy you want that can help and will kind of pick up the slack, then okay, sure. Then you can make that move and you deal with it. You save $14 million, and that gets you pretty close to under the apron. You probably only have to make one more move after that, and you'd be okay. So yes, creative thinking, Dave. I think that's one way to go. Elias asks, can the Celtics just cut a player like Holiday or buy him out instead of having to trade him to a team and having to include a pick? No, not really. Here's how it goes. If you just cut a player, you say, okay, we're just waiving you. The number stays on the books. This isn't the NFL where you just cut a player and he's gone. If you just say, we are waiving Jrue Holiday, then what happens is his number stays on the books. Another team can come in and sign him, and whatever they sign him for is deducted from your obligation. But he's going to get that money. That's guaranteed money. They all get it. And if whatever you pay a guy, that's on the books. And so you can't just cut him. Buying him out, same idea. The money, there is a cap hit to that. There is a waive and stretch. The waive and stretch option, it literally stretches out the cap hit over twice the remaining length of the contract plus 1 year. So he has 2 years left on his let me just give this a quick peek. He is under contract for this year, this upcoming season, the next season, and then a player option, which would count. So it's 3 remaining years. So you would total all of that up, divide it by 7, and that's, let's just do the quick math on that. He's going to make $32.4 million next season. then 34.8 million the following season after that, and then he has a 37.2 million player option, which this would count. So you take that, you divide it by 7 because it's 3 remaining years, double that, so it's 6 plus a year. So they would have $14.9 million of dead money on their books for 7 years. You don't want that because that's taxable. That's just, you're taking basically $15 million and you have a ghost that you're paying $15 million to. So you can't do it. The NFL type rules do not apply to the NBA. Let's have a little bit of fun here. 2 more questions. Joe says, you've mentioned the difficulty of the Celtics of getting their own building. You also referenced finding a partner. You think it'd be possible partnering with a future WNBA team if the Sun are relocated? I don't think that would get the Celtics a new building. I don't think, because the partner, I mean, you could find a rich person that's willing to develop and create a building, and maybe the Celtics ownership group as a whole can say, we are investing in this, half of this process. And that other person can be like, yeah, I'm investing half of this process. I also just bought the Connecticut Sun. They're playing in this building too. That's part of the deal. Certainly possible, but that still doesn't change the logistics. A very, very difficult set of logistics. People have mentioned the soccer stadium that was trying to be built somewhere, Everett, Chelsea. That went nowhere. Legislative red tape all over the place, and it was the Krafts. If Robert Kraft, with all of his, equity in this state, if he can't pull a few strings, grease a few palms, and get this deal done, I don't feel great about another person coming along and doing that. I don't know that another arena. You have to also take into account another arena competing with TD Garden for all of these concerts. That'd be very difficult. Like concerts, wrestling, boxing, MMA, all that stuff. There's a competition, and it'd be tough to have like 2 things happening on the same night. I don't know. I don't know that the city is ready for that kind of competition. I don't know. So I just remain super, super skeptical. I get the point, Joe, but I don't think that's going to work. Although I am excited about the Connecticut Sun moving out of Mohegan. I'm sorry to the fans in Connecticut. I really am. But unfortunately, under the current ownership group, it's just not feasible there. So they're going to have to find a better facility, better, practice facility, all that stuff. And I don't think that's going to happen in, Uncasville or in the surrounding area. I'm sorry. And finally, Hillary says on a recent podcast, you joked that if Giannis came to Boston, you get exclusives by interviewing him in Greek. Are there official rules or unofficial customs about asking a player non-English questions at press conferences? So Al and Porzingis have been asked by a reporter multiple times questions in Spanish. Guys, that they get asked that and they answer in Spanish, and no one says anything. No one's pissed. It's hard to translate. I don't speak Spanish. Probably should learn, but it's, you just, that's that guy's question, and that's the way it goes. And so I think if I were to consistently ask Giannis, let's pretend the Celtics have traded for him, and I were to consistently ask Giannis questions, there might be a little pushback in amongst the beat writers, because I'm around all the time, and it's like, but also everybody's playing for advantages. You know what I mean? It's competitive business. So I have no problem. I like all of the beat writers. I think the Celtics beat has a fantastic group of people there in the core. And then, then you throw in the TV people who aren't always there, but the beat writers and like all the TV people are nice too. So I have no problem with anybody. But we're all also competitive. Like I want to do a story that's better than Jay King and Adam Himmelsbach, and they want to do stories that are better than me. And we all try to, push whatever little advantages we have and capitalize on them. So you better believe if I had the ability to ask Giannis a specific question in Greek and get something for a story that I didn't want anybody else to have, and that was my chance because I wasn't going to get a one-on-one with him anyway, then I would absolutely cash that in. And if somebody had to say something like, hey, tough, sorry, go learn Greek. Go get a Duolingo and learn your Greek. You know what I mean? So I'm sure somebody would say something, maybe bust my balls a little bit, but I think there's no unofficial thing, certainly no official thing from the NBA. So, and yeah, I mean, I look, you got to do what you got to do, man. You got to do what you got to do. And so, hey, we'll see. I don't think I'm going to get the chance, but we'll see. Thanks for asking the questions. I really do appreciate it. I do get a lot. I'm sorry for not getting to all of them. I will try maybe this offseason to do more mailbags. But every time I tell people johnkaralis.com/mailbag, I get another wave of questions, and it's just hard to get all of them in. I do think some of these questions are representative of multiple questions that I get on these topics. So hopefully yours is answered somewhat within these answers. But please submit your questions, and I try to get to as many of them as I can. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate you being an everydayer. Those of you who are with me every Monday through Friday, you everydayers really make my day because you're there supporting this podcast, even in this off season. But that's okay if you're not. I want you to become one. But if you're here, however often you're here, I appreciate it too. If you're new, I'd love it if you subscribed. It would be, I try to give you something informative. Hopefully it's somewhat entertaining as well. So thank you so much. Get into the comment section. Share your thoughts on my answers. Agree, disagree, whatever. Let me know. And then I would love it if you shared the podcast and told everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.